Get ready to dive into the minds of risk takers with Risktaker Academy, presented by Plus Tax Entertainment. Written by Troy Bello the Prophet and narrated by 11 Labs, this audiobook takes you on a journey through the psychological barriers of risk-taking. From confronting fear and failure to embracing growth and forgiveness, Risktaker Academy will inspire you to push past your limits and become a master of risk-taking. Don't miss out on this life-changing audiobook that will leave you in tears and ready to take on the world. Chapter 1. The Risk-Taker Base. The sun was setting on the horizon as you approached the heavily guarded Risk-Taker Base. The soldiers at the entrance were no ordinary mercenaries. They were the elite of the elite. Each one was armed to the teeth and had the distinct Risk-Taker logo emblazoned on their tactical gear. Their eyes were alert and scanning the surrounding areas for any potential threats. As you entered the base, you were struck by the sheer scale of the operation. Dozens of buildings sprawled across the compound, and everywhere you looked, there were risk-taker soldiers going about their business. They were honing their skills and preparing for the next mission, whatever it may be. The air was charged with tension, and you could tell that everyone took their job seriously. This was not your ordinary group of mercenaries. These were the best of the best. They were hand-picked for their skills and their willingness to take on the toughest and ugliest jobs. As you made your way deeper into the base, you couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at how special the risk-takers were. This was no ordinary army. This was a group of soldiers who took on the impossible and made it happen. You were introduced to two top-tier risk-taker generals, Big Shog and Jojo. Big Shog was surrounded by 20 new prospects in the middle of a ring of men. He was manhandling two of the cadets by himself, executing impressive karate moves that left one with a fractured ribcage and the other defeated. On the sidelines, Jojo was taunting the students, trying to pick a fight. They fell for his trap, and he quickly disposed of 10 guys, his ballerina spin move and furious blows knocking them to the ground. It was a brutal display of power, but it was necessary. This was the annual Risk-Taker Day, the only day of the year when one special gentleman could become a risk-taker. One man out of 100 could survive the Thunderdome-like atmosphere. It was vital that all the generals and drill sergeants of the day tested these guys, because when they were behind enemy walls and there were real bullets, they needed to be sure that the person they chose really had what it took to be part of this crew. As Jojo and Big Shog made quick work of the remaining group, a Maserati truck pulled up, and two high-level risk-takers jumped out. One was Maserati Pat, and the other was Risk-Taker Cool. They watched their childhood friends abuse these new recruits with a smile on their faces. This was going to be a beautiful day. Chapter 2. Rise of a Risk-Taker. Alicia, also known as Lee Wop, led a group of 12 new prospects at the state-of-the-art shooting range. As the daughter of Troy Bello and a proud member of the Risk-Takers, Alicia had earned her spot through hard work and determination. She was tough as nails, having overcome many challenges as a young black woman in America. Security Frank, Troy's younger brother and Alicia's uncle, walked in and caught a glimpse of his niece in action. It reminded him of the year she became a risk-taker at the age of 18. He had watched in awe as Alicia defeated 3 brolic men in a ring fight, using a combination of martial arts moves that left her opponents in submission. The flashback transported Frank back to that exhilarating moment. As he watched his niece now, he felt a surge of pride for how far she had come. Despite the obstacles she faced as a black woman, Alicia had risen to the top, graduating school at 16, protecting her siblings, and becoming a key player in her family. The present-day scene faded back into focus, and Alicia and Frank exchanged a warm smile. It was a reminder of the bonds that kept the risk-takers together. They were a family, bound not only by their shared experiences as risk-takers, but by a deep sense of loyalty and respect. Alicia continued to train the new recruits, teaching them the skills they needed to become successful risk-takers. She emphasized the importance of discipline, hard work, and respect for oneself and others. The shooting range echoed with the sounds of gunfire as the young prospects honed their skills under Alicia's watchful eye. As the session came to a close, Alicia spoke to the group about the challenges they would face as risk-takers. "We are not invincible," she said, "but we are strong, and we are resilient. We have each other's backs, and we will rise to meet any challenge that comes our way." The room fell silent as Alicia's words sunk in. For many of the recruits, joining the Risktakers had been a dream, a chance to prove themselves and make a difference. Now they were part of something bigger, a force for good in a world that could be harsh and unforgiving. As the group dispersed, Alicia and Frank remained behind. They talked about the old days and the challenges they had overcome to get where they were today. They laughed, they reminisced, and they shed tears of joy for the bond that had brought them together. The Risktakers were more than just a group of mercenaries. They were a family, a tribe of warriors who had overcome adversity and emerged stronger on the other side. And as long as they had each other, there was nothing they couldn't do. Chapter 3. The Prodigy Teacher. As we walk through the Risktakers' facility, we witness groups engaged in various exercises. One of the rooms catches our attention, and we peek inside to see children studying advanced mathematics problems that could only be understood by geniuses like Albert Einstein. But what's more surprising is the young teacher, who appears to be no more than 10 or 12 years old. It's Security Frank's son, Junior, a prodigy who could write computer code at the age of 9 and is now teaching microphysics and hacking techniques to new recruits. He's a super-intelligent child, a smooth and nonchalant speaker with a technical prowess that would put grown men and women to shame. Junior's drive and intelligence were initially geared towards creating Xbox games that surpassed what was available in stores. His success led to a podcast show, which he frequently co-hosted with his gamer father, Security Frank. Together, they gained millions of followers on YouTube. Despite the Risktakers' policy against child mercenaries, Junior's intellect and skills made him the perfect candidate for a full-time teaching position at the academy. Having graduated at the age of 12, he was paid $200,000 a year to serve as the principal. However, Junior's upbringing was not typical for a child his age. His father, Security Frank, pushed him to be a super soldier, believing that pain brings out the best in people. He put his son through rigorous training, testing his mental and physical strength. The flashback shows the aggressive and intelligent side of Junior that he inherited from his father. In the classroom, Junior's intelligence and strength shine as he commands attention and respect from his students. When a conversation between two students disrupts his class, Junior screams at them, revealing his fierce and unyielding nature. He kicks them out of his classroom, explaining that the Risktakers are about education and learning. If you can't listen and learn, you don't belong. Junior's lecture on the importance of unity and teamwork resonates with the students. He explains that the Risktakers are more than just a group of mercenaries. They are a collective of individuals working towards a master plan. Hard-headedness and personal plans have no place here. The message is clear. To succeed, we must put our egos aside and work towards a common goal. The Prodigy Teacher teaches us that intelligence, strength, and drive can be found in the most unexpected places. It inspires us to look beyond age, race, and gender and recognize the value that each individual brings to the table. Junior's story reminds us that our upbringing does not define our potential, and with hard work and determination, we can achieve greatness. Chapter 3.5. Don't Play Risktaker. Shogi and Risktaker Jojo were hanging out in the hallways when they overheard two kids bad-mouthing Principal Junior. The two top Risktaker generals immediately stepped in, with Jojo grabbing one of the kids by the collar and Shogi jumping in as if it's an interrogation. They threatened to use the kid as an example in a classroom tutorial on extracting information if he didn't tell the truth. The man confesses that he was talking about Principal Junior, and the two comedically asked if he thought he could take him. The young man nonchalantly and arrogantly blows it off like there's not even a thought of him being defeated by Principal Junior, who is only half his size and almost 100 pounds less. The two men scream up the hallway, and Junior appears from his classroom. They explain that the man had been talking recklessly about him, and they wanted him, Principal Junior, to show the young man, who was actually older than him, a couple of things on hand-to-hand combat. As soon as the offer was put on the table, Junior looked at his classroom and told them to come outside. As the kids filed out of the classroom, Principal Junior shouted to the man, "Are you ready?" The man gave him a cocky look, and Junior sprang into action. He moved down the hallway with the speed and agility of a mini Wolverine, his movements fierce and precise, as if he had animanium claws piercing out of his knuckles. The student blocked his power blow but was moved back. The student, who had been talking recklessly, backed into a taekwondo stance, while Junior, who is only a minor, produced the Wing Chun stance. It was clear that Junior had made the better decision. It was almost like he was playing chess, as he saw his opponent move and made the proper adjustment. The two gentlemen went for close hand-to-hand combat. Junior executed a series of swift and technical moves, including a Wing Chun chain punch, a Pak Sao, and a Jut Sao. The student tried to counter with a sidekick, but Junior effortlessly dodged it and continued with a Lop Sao and a Tan Sao. The fight was intense, with both opponents skillfully exchanging blows, and the spectators watching in awe. As the fight continued, Junior saw Security Frank take a corner and walk down the same hallway. Security. Frank looked at him and told him not to play with his food. He said, "I know you're young, but you're the principal, and you shouldn't be fighting these clowns. But if you're going to do it, hurry up and let's get it done." Junior went in like the Wu-Tang or Bruce Lee and gave him that final crushing blow. The children were astonished, and none of the Risktaker generals were surprised. There wasn't a chance in the world that this guy could have beaten Junior. He was trained by Security Frank. The classroom returned to normal, and Junior fixed his designer clothes. He gave a brief speech about why bullies are not allowed or shouldn't be tolerated. The defamation of someone's character or the reckless and insensitive things that could be said should not be tolerated. He expressed how glad he was that his uncles, the Risktaker generals, stepped in to confront the situation. As the chapter ended, the message was clear. Taking out your anger, especially when you're wrong, and trying to bully someone because they're smaller or in a different position only belittles yourself, making you the butt of the joke, because we all know you really don't want no smoke. Chapter 4. The Three Queens of Risktaker Intelligence, Family and Technology Working Together. The Risktaker Intelligence Operations Center was a state-of-the-art facility, filled with the latest technology and manned by a team of experts. But what really made it stand out was the team that ran it, the Three Queens of Risktaker Intelligence. Zamari, the youngest of the trio, was already a whiz with the technology, handling multiple screens at once like a pro. Destiny, the oldest, was the natural leader, able to direct her sisters and manage the incoming data with precision. And then there was their mother, Zleka, the backbone of the team, with years of experience in the field and a sharp mind that could analyze and make sense of even the most complex information. Together, the three queens worked like a well-oiled machine, their minds and skills combining to create a supercomputer of human intelligence. As they sifted through the endless streams of data pouring in from all over the world, they were able to connect the dots and detect patterns that others couldn't. On one screen, Taxman Temps was calling in from London, reporting that everything was under control. On another, Bobby Drake was reporting from Tampa. And on the screen that the three queens were focused on, they saw their father, Risktaker P. the Pizzle, in the middle of a high-speed chase. Accompanied by Rich Knievel, two co-founders and top-tier risk-takers, they were pursuing an 18-wheeler carrying marijuana that had been stolen from one of their dispensaries in L.A. The chase was intense, with bullets flying and two cars trying to block them from getting back their product. Despite the danger, Risktaker P was calm and collected, even taking the time to check in with his daughters over the video chat. "Hey, babies, how you doing?" he asked, as if he was just on a leisurely motorcycle ride. Zleka, his wife and the mother of his children, was on the line as well, her voice filled with concern. But Risktaker P assured her that everything was under control, and he even had some intel to share about Elon Musk's kidnapped nephew. As he spoke, Rich Knievel could be seen in the background of the video chat, popping wheelies on his motorcycle and shooting a high-tech, semi-automatic weapon. And then, with a single shot, he took out the tires of the car that was protecting the 18-wheeler truck, causing it to explode and flip. The three queens watched in amazement as the scene played out before their eyes. Here was their father, risking his life to protect their business and their family. And here was Rich Knievel, a daredevil stuntman and one of their own, using his skills and courage to help them in their mission. It was a powerful reminder of the importance of family and teamwork, and how technology and human intelligence could work together to achieve great things. As the video chat ended and the three queens went back to work, they knew that they too were part of a larger family, one that was dedicated to taking risks and making a difference in the world. Chapter 5. The Bond of Love and Protection. Security. Frank walked down the hallway with his daughters, Olivia and Haley, on each side. As they passed by, the new recruits couldn't help but feel a chill run down their spines as they looked into the daughters' intense eyes. Security Frank was their leader, but his daughters were his personal bodyguards and gave him the ultimate protection. They were educated, smart, and deadly ninjas, trained to work together as one. Flashback to when Security Frank brought his daughters to train among the truest martial arts teachers in Tibet. He requested that they be trained to flow like water, naturally be the other's extension, and work in unison together. The training was grueling, almost at the brink of death, but they loved and appreciated all the attention their father gave them. Security Frank knew how rough the world was, and he never wanted his daughters to be vulnerable to it. One day, when Security Frank was relaxing with his family, enjoying a beautiful Sunday together, highly trained assassins came for him. They broke into the house, but Haley and Olivia immediately jumped into action and neutralized the intruders. It was a massacre, and Security Frank realized he had to keep his eye on his daughters. From that day forward, they became his personal bodyguards. Fast forward to the present, where Security Frank walks down the hallway with his daughters, and everyone salutes him. They know the bond of love and protection that the family shares. The new recruits can feel it too, and they want to be a part of it. The bond between Security Frank and his daughters is unbreakable. Through their rigorous training and love for each other, they have become the ultimate protectors. They have faced countless assassination attempts, and each time, they have prevailed. As they walk down the hallway, they hold their heads high, knowing that they have each other's backs. The love that Security Frank has for his daughters is evident in everything he does. He honed in on their abilities, just as he did with his son Junior, and trained them to be the best. They are a true representation of what the Risktakers Academy stands for: family, love, and protection. The new recruits watch in awe as Security Frank and his daughters walk by, and they know that they want to be a part of this family. They want to feel the bond of love and protection that Security Frank and his daughters share. As they continue on their journey at the Risktakers Academy, they know that they are not alone. They are a part of a family that will always have their backs. Chapter 7. The Hall of Legends. Troy Bello, also known as the Prophet, walked through the Hall of Legends, the sacred place of the Risktakers. The hall was a memorial for all of the fallen soldiers who had sacrificed their lives to make the world a better place. As Troy walked through the hall, he saw paintings, statues, and memorials of his fallen brothers and sisters. Troy's mind was heavy with thoughts of his cousin, Anton Campbell, also known as the Risktaker Biggs. Biggs was an amazing man, a brother in arms, and a friend to all who knew him. Troy missed him dearly, and he felt his absence like a heavy weight on his chest. As Troy walked through the hall, he gave a deep speech about the sacrifices that the Risktakers had made for the future. He spoke of the courage, the strength, and the honor of those who had fallen. His voice was filled with emotion, and his words touched the hearts of all who listened. As they walked, Troy and the recruits came to a statue of a man holding an AK-47. The statue was bronze and of the finest quality. The details were exquisite, and the pose was fierce. The man in the statue was none other than Risktaker Biggs. Troy stood before the statue, his eyes filled with tears as he remembered his cousin. He spoke of the man behind the statue, the fearless Risktaker who had given his love to his comrades and his family, as well as the gang, Risktaker Gang. He was the Plustack's vice president, and he will forever be missed. He spoke of Biggs's bravery, his loyalty, and his sacrifice. One of the recruits asked, "Who's that guy? And why does he get a statue so big?" Troy's rage was instant, and he swung a fierce backhand directly into the cadet's chest, knocking the wind out of him and pushing him back 3 feet. He turned to the cadet and said, "This was a risk-taker, a better risk-taker than you'll ever be. This is Risktaker Biggs. Show some respect." The rage was palpable in Troy's voice, and the recruits cowered in fear. Security Frank's wife, Michelle, who was observing the classroom from the sideline, stepped in and gave the rest of the tour to the students. Troy thanked her and walked away, tears streaming down his face. As Troy retreated to the locker room, he pounded away at one of the locker doors. Security Frank walked in to check on his brother and found Troy in a rage, tears streaming down his face. Troy screamed, "I should have saved him! I could have saved him!" Security Frank put his hand on Troy's shoulder and said, "Bro, I love you. Chill, bro." Troy responded by saying, "I should have saved him. I could have saved him." Security Frank dropped his head and said, "Sometimes we just have to accept that even though we want to save someone we love, we don't always have the ability to do it." Troy felt the weight of Security Frank's words and slowly began to calm down. Security Frank made a joke to lighten the mood. "You know Biggs is looking down, smiling right now, telling you to chill." As the two brothers walked out of the locker room, they felt a sense of relief that had been lifted off of Troy's shoulders. He felt like he had some type of growth and was giving himself some forgiveness. The risk-takers believe that energy never dies, but instead transfers from one form to another. This is based on the principle of conservation of energy, which states that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, only transformed. At this moment, let us take a moment of silence to honor and remember all of our risk-taking soldiers who courageously face challenges and uncertainties every day in order to make a difference in this world. Chapter 8. Risky Business. The risk-takers gathered in the meeting room, eager to hear about the latest developments. Cool cleared his throat and addressed the group. "All right, listen up. We've got two situations at hand. First, Rich Neville and Risktaker P are in LA waiting on backup. They were unable to pull over the semi-truck, and now they're outside a compound staking out to make sure that the product doesn't move from that spot until reinforcements get there." The group nodded in understanding. "What's the second situation?" one member asked. "Elon Musk's nephew has been kidnapped and is being held in New York. Lefty has all the information we need on where and why they're holding him. One thing's for sure, it's Carlito Neen, and if we're sloppy, he'll kill the kid no problem." As Cool continued to brief the team, a video call came in from Flyboy. "Hey, what's going on, guys?" he asked. Cool filled Flyboy in on the details of both situations. "We need you to head over to New York and provide backup for the team there," he said. "Consider it done," Flyboy replied, eager to join the mission. Meanwhile, Rich Neville and Risktaker P were keeping watch outside the compound in LA. Suddenly, they spotted movement inside. "Looks like they're getting ready to move the product," Rich Neville said. Risktaker P nodded. "We need to move in now." Back in New York, the team was gearing up for their mission. "Remember, we need to be careful and precise," Cool reminded them. "We can't risk the kid's life." As the risk-takers dispersed to their respective missions, the tension and excitement in the air was palpable. It was risky business, but it was what they did best. As the phone rang, Risktaker E answered the video call with a cold and menacing expression on his face. Risktaker Cool Chip could see in the background that Risktaker E was in the process of beating the three men he had captured. Risktaker Evan's fists were like hammers, raining down blows on the men as they were tied up and suspended from the ceiling. The sickening sound of bones cracking and the men's screams filled the room. The men were pedophiles who preyed on young children, and they had been convicted of murder but had escaped from jail due to their connections with the Russian mob. Risktaker E had hunted them down like an animal, and now he was exacting his own brand of justice. He used a choreographed martial arts boxing exhibition to inflict maximum damage on the men. With each punch, he shattered bones and ruptured organs. He kicked and kneed them, leaving them gasping for air and writhing in agony. Their hands were tied behind their backs, and their feet barely touched the floor, making it easier for their bodies to sway as they hung from the ceiling. Risktaker E didn't care about their pain. He wanted them to suffer as much as possible. The room was filled with the stench of blood and sweat as Risktaker E continued his assault. He was a hunter, true Haitian warrior, and these men were his prey. He had been torturing them for the last 6 days, and he was determined to make them pay for their crimes. Risktaker E watched as the men were barely conscious, their bodies broken and battered. He turned to the video phone and gave a cold smile. "I hope you enjoyed the show," he said, his voice dripping with menace. because this is just the beginning. As Risktaker E continues to beat the three men, he notices something is off with Cool's demeanor during their video call. E looks at Chip and says, "Spit it out." Simultaneously, one of the tortured men spits out a tooth, causing it to bounce off something in the kitchen, causing both Chip and E to bust out laughing. After getting back on track, Cool informs E that two important missions are at hand. One involving Carlo Nene, a notorious gangster with significant power in New York, and the other $1 million worth of our product stolen from one of our LA dispensaries. Shit's about to get real. Risktaker Cool has just opened Pandora's box. Big E, one of the most ruthless member of their team, for assistance. With a sinister smile, E eagerly anticipates the upcoming challenges. We want to thank you for joining us on this journey through the Risktaker Academy. It's been a pleasure to guide you through the different rooms of the mind, exploring topics such as risk-taking, forgiveness, growth, and identity. We hope that this book has been a healing experience for you and has allowed you to confront some of life's most challenging issues. Remember, a true risk-taker is someone who faces their fears and takes action, even in the face of adversity. Keep taking risks, keep growing, and never stop learning. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of your journey.